Hello, I'm Brandon Mullins, and this is my Things I Should Have Said video for Sociology 100, Section 4. So, my first instance of social inequality was when I was a sophomore in high school. I was just getting my first job, and I got it from my friend who was working there 6 months before me, and she's a female of color. So, when I went for the interview, I didn't think it went too well or too bad, but as I was going through the interview, towards the end, they were like, we're going to give you a 50-cent raise on top of your $8.50 an hour, just because, of how well you conducted yourself. Like, we love seeing men like you, strive to go out there, especially being so young. And I was like, okay, sweet, awesome. Getting a raise, didn't even start yet, great. And so I didn't think that it was gonna be because of my skin color and the fact that I'm a male. Because come to find out a few months later, as I was at lunch with my friend Sheila, is what I'm gonna call her, we were talking about our wages, and she was telling me how she was only getting paid $7.50 an hour, and she was doing more work than I was. I was doing the janitorial services as well, but we were doing some of the same work, a lot of the same work actually. But she had a better work ethic than me. She would put more hours in the business, and she was just a better worker and had way more experience than I did. But they still gave me the raise, and they never gave her any sort of raise the whole time we were working there. And that's part of the reason why I left, was because I didn't like the way they conducted their business. Another example would be whenever Sheila would ask a question to our boss, when both of us were around, our boss would just direct all the questions back to me, and she would answer the questions and direct the conversation all to me, even though I wouldn't even be asking the questions. She'd just be looking at me and talking to me, and definitely felt like this workplace was definitely had something against people of other color and ethnicities, because there's very few workers there. But I really do think that they had those workers there just so they wouldn't look like a predominantly white, or an entirely white workspace, which it really was. It was predominantly white. And another thing I would think of is social stratification, and that's the systematic process of ranking people on a scale of social worth, such that the ranking affects life chances in unequal ways. And I had no control over being a white male, and she had no control of being a female of color. And so I definitely think that played a factor in me getting that wage, and that increase in my pay, and that just pay gap and wage difference. And then another thing I would think of is the urban underclass, because we were both from around Detroit, and so I would think that a group of families and individuals of inner cities who live outside the mainstream of the American occupational system, and who consequently represent the very bottom of the economic hierarchy. I represented that bottom of the economic hierarchy. I come from a very poor family who I was getting that job just to pay for my own needs, and then for my family as well, to help support them, whereas my friend was paying to just have some money on the side. And they looked at her, from being a female of color, that she would be performing less than I would be, just because I'm a white male, and I was clean cut for the interview and whatnot, and I'd be there clean cut. I mean, that's the only way I can see it, because that's the only way it makes sense. And so another thing would be, a complex theorist point of view they place an emphasis on the income advantages that are unearned, and I definitely didn't earn any sort of income advantage. She put in more work, better work ethic than I did, and it was just because I was a white male that they were giving me that advantage, especially because they would always emphasize me being a male and white. And so I would also think that why this is maintained in our society, these inequalities, is because the time period, these are bosses that came from a time period where it was okay for that inequality to exist, with gender, males are definitely more valued for their work than females are, and they definitely put an emphasis on that. I would see gender inequality, and then just me being a male and living to those ideas of masculinity as well. I could see that playing as a factor and an issue, because they would always have me do all the lifting and whatnot, or anytime there would be someone to go get something from the front from a customer, they wouldn't send Sheila, they'd send me. And she was never chosen, ever. And that definitely had to play with some kind of racial discrimination and gender discrimination as well. And another thing I would think of is intersectionality. And these are statuses combined in complex ways. So the statuses of gender, race, class, sexual orientation, combined in complex ways to influence advantages and disadvantages. And I was definitely given advantages, whereas she was given disadvantages in the workplace. And honestly, I really don't see me stepping in and saying something about it would really change anything. They were definitely set in their ways, and there was nothing I could have really done about it, especially because I wasn't really educated on the matter until I was taking this course. So looking back at it now, I wish I would have said something, but in the context, I really couldn't being so young. So thank you for watching.